Ready?
So, J. Ruud, what lovable book are we talking about today?
Well, Stacey Margaret Jones, I'll give you a hint. John Tenniel.
Have I read this book?
Yes.
Oh, man. I hate it when I don't know the books I've read. Welcome to Between the Covers, the weekly book podcast in which author J. Ruud walks us through one book at a time, his list of the 100 most lovable novels in the English language. And I, at this point in the podcast, author Stacey Margaret Jones, try to guess what book we're talking about based on his purposefully opaque and obfuscatory clues. All right, clue number 2, please.
Clue number 2. How doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail?
What was the first clue?
John Tenniel.
It's not Kipling, is it?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. I didn't think Kipling would make your list. It's like, do I even know this person? Clue number 3.
Clue number 3. Alice Pleasance Little.
What was the first clue again?
John Tenniel.
Is it? Okay, I don't know. Have I read it?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. You told me.
Alice Pleasance Little.
Is it Alice in Wonderland?
It is Alice in Wonderland.
Well, I was gonna
slash Alice Through the Looking Glass.
I was going to guess that, but then I was like, the other clues, I don't. All right. I did guess it. I got it.
Okay.
You just reiterated a clue.
John Tenniel was a cartoonist and illustrator in of Parade magazine, and he's the one who did the famous illustrations.
These aren't clues. These are random bits of unknowable information.
That's not true, because he did the famous illustration. One of the most famous things about the books are their illustrations.
That's not
anyway, he did them.
That's
How doth the
not a
little
clue.
crocodile is one of the many things that Alice recites. But we can talk about that more.
All right. Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland. And I'm including Through the Looking Glass as well.
All right.
As sort of a part 2 of
By?
Alice in Wonderland. By Lewis Carroll, whose name was actually Charles Lutwidge Dodgson.
Okay.
He published under the pen name Lewis Carroll.
Okay.
He was an Oxford professor of math and logic.
Well, as of course. All right. So, when did this book come out?
Alice in Wonderland was published in 1862.
Okay, so
And,
before last week's book, which was Treasure Island,
yeah.
which came out in the early 1880s.
1883.
Yes. Okay.
And Through the Looking Glass was published in 1871.
So this is interesting because when, we talked several weeks ago about Tom Jones and this written art form of the novel, which I think current readers, it's hard for us to really imagine a world in which we can't read a novel. But before these early novels, longer works were poetic.
Usually, yeah.
Right, the epic poems, etc.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the early days of the novel, and now we're in the 1800s, and we're
Mid
talking
to late 1800s.
We're talking about children's literature.
Yeah.
So, I should know this because I am not only a literature major, but an early elementary education major. When were novels for children emerging? Or is this, obviously, is this part of a big tradition, or is this a period of time in which this kind of literature is coming out more?
It is. I think probably, and if there are children's literature experts out there, they'll probably going to be screaming at me. But back in early America, the most popular book on people's shelves was The Pilgrim's Progress, which adults would read, but probably children would read too.
Oh, wow.
It is kind of entertaining because it's this allegory and, worldly wise man is in it and all this. It's very didactic. And children's literature tended to be didactic.
So these stories then that we're getting into, the Robert Louis Stevenson Treasure Island and the Lewis Carroll Alice stories, are not didactic, right?
No,
They're enjoyable. They're lovable novels, you might even say.
Yeah, you might say that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one reason why both of these are kind of classics and lovable, I think, because they break that trend of moral didacticism.
Right,
that,
okay.
The most popular children's books at the time that Alice came out were the Peter Parley books, which taught children about geography or nature with a large dose of moral didacticism.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mary Martha Sherwood's The History of the Fairchild Family was an overtly religious text aimed at inculcating middle-class values.
Right. This is Victorian England.
Yeah.
Right.
Mid-Victorian.
Yeah.
And those were actually the most popular children's books in England.
Okay.
And then
Right.
along came Alice, whose chief goal is
To bust that up.
the expression of a kind of nihilistic literary nonsense.
Right. Okay. Pre-postmodernism.
Yeah.
All right. So this came out in the mid 19th century. How long is this book?
If you get a copy of Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass together,
Which is usually how you do.
which, yeah, it's best.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, literally, when you get to the end of Alice in Wonderland, you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, where's Humpty Dumpty?
Oh.
Where's Tweedledum and Tweedledee? Where's the Jabberwock? All those
yeah.
things are from Through the Looking Glass.
Okay, so the touchstones, the cultural touchstones are actually from the second book.
Some of them.
Some of them, right.
Okay, Lewis Carroll wrote it in 1862, but it was published in 1865 because he wrote it for Alice Little, who was the daughter of his dean.
Oh, okay.
Who was 10 years old, and then he gave her a handwritten copy with his own illustrations for a Christmas present in 1862. And
That seems excessive.
he probably was trying to please his dean.
I was going to say, climbing the academic ladder,
Yeah, but
the greasy pole of academia.
yeah. But to answer the question, how long is it? Together, less than 300 pages.
Oh, okay. All right.
But in the 160 years since its publication, it has never been out of print.
Oh, yes, of course not, because everybody reads it or everybody gives it.
It's been translated into 174 languages,
Oh, wow.
including Latin and Esperanto.
Esperanto. All right.
So it's on all kinds of
Give
lists.
us the highlights of the list. The most interesting.
It's on the Guardian's list of the 100 best English language novels. It's on the Observer's list of the 100 greatest world novels. In Penguin Classics survey of its readers, it was number 42 among the 100 favorite novels. In the Big Read list, it came in as number 30 among favorite books of the British nation. It was number 3 on Forbes' list of the 25 greatest kids' books of all time, and number 2 on the BBC's 100 greatest children's books of all time.
My goodness.
Through the Looking Glass is on 14 different lists of its own, including the Book Depository's Best Books Ever list and Time Magazine's 100 Best Fantasy Books of all time.
Okay.
And, of course,
It might be easier to list the list it's not listed on.
It probably would take a shorter time. And there have been 18 film or television adaptations.
Yes.
And at least 2 video games, 2 ballets, and an opera.
Oh, I'd love to see the ballet.
And Alice has appeared in popular music from, among others, Tom Waits and Jefferson Airplane.
Awesome. Well, yeah. When I was in high school, our all-state choir sang that song that is the Jabberwock. We sang the Jabberwock. That
Twas
was
brillig and the slithy
yes,
toes
and
of
it was,
gyre and gimble in the
It
wade.
was set it was set to music, and that was one of the all-state choir selections that we sang that year was the Jabberwocky song. So it's hit classical music as well, choral music. So can you tell us what this book is? Should we say these books? Are we saying these books? Is this are you cheating? Are you putting two books as one?
Yes.
Okay. So
I wouldn't call it cheating.
You make the rules.
It's my rules.
That's right. So what are these books about? Remember, it's not a summary of the book. It's what are the books about?
Okay. The plots of both of them are quirky and episodic. Begins with a young girl, Alice, asleep in a meadow. She follows a white rabbit down a rabbit hole where she has a series of bizarre adventures, growing or shrinking in size, meeting a caterpillar, smoking a hookah, and a Cheshire cat whose disembodied smile remains when the cat is gone, and attends an endless and absurd tea party, and later plays croquet with the Red Queen using flamingos for mallets and hedgehogs for balls, and ultimately is called to testify in the trial of the Knave of Hearts for stealing the Queen's tarts. That's a thumbnail summary of Alice in Wonderland.
Well, I'll give you the harps of glory. I won't send you straight to jail with the trombone of despair. So it's fantastical.
It is fantastical.
It sounds like it has imaginative flair.
Yeah. And it has a dreamlike quality.
Yes.
Because,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And, at the end of Alice in Wonderland, she wakes up.
Right.
So it's like these fantastic things that happen in dreams.
Do we know how old Alice is as a character?
As a character, she's 7.
Okay. All right. So
And then Through the Looking Glass, she's 7.5.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So we have kind of a theme with last week's too, with the children's novels.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So why did you choose these books for your list? What makes them particularly lovable to you? Why are they enjoyable to read?
They are enjoyable to read because they're so clever. There's playing with language throughout.
I was going to say what I remember enjoying about it is the language.
Yeah.
There's just Carroll clearly enjoys having fun with language.
Yeah. And as a logician, he messes around with the logic of language.
Yes.
And I mean, that's one of the 3 reasons I think that these books are particularly lovable.
Well, I mean, he can do it under the guise, okay, it's a children's book, right? So I can play with these things.
Yeah.
But everybody likes surprising language, right?
Yeah.
And the the way it lights up your own mind, right? And how fun it is to say some of the things aloud, even to read it aloud.
I mean, one of the most obvious places where the language is played with all over the place is the Mad Tea Party.
Right, that's what I'm thinking of right now. That's what's in my mind.
Yeah, the March Hare says to her, have some more tea. And she says, I haven't had any yet, so I can't have any more. And the Mad Hatter says, you mean you can't have any less? It's very easy to have more than nothing.
Or even most of nothing.
Exactly. Or one of them says to her, say what you mean. And she says, I do. I mean, at least I mean what I say, and that's the same thing. And they argue with her about that. Then the Mad Hatter says it's not the same thing a bit. You might just as well say, I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. You might just as well say, added the March Hare, that I like what I get is the same thing as I get what I like. You might just as well say, added the Dormouse, who seemed to be talking in his sleep, that I breathe when I sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe.
Well, that's interesting. So it is his academic training coming out to give children's literature something that children would agree with, right? Like children would read and say, of course, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And it also is a kind of way to train how you think, right? To challenge some of these things.
Yeah. And it's just a way of having fun with language.
Yes, exactly.
Through the Looking Glass, where she meets Humpty Dumpty, he uses words in strange ways, And she's kind of like, I don't think that means that. And he said, words mean whatever I say they mean, pretty much. Humpty Dumpty says, when I use a word, Humpty Dumpty said in a rather scornful tone, it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more nor less. The question is, said Alice, whether you can make words mean so many different things. The question is, said Humpty Dumpty, which is to be master? That's all. You or the words?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of kind of philosophy and like what is the experience of language, right?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
And it's Humpty Dumpty who interprets for her the meaning of "'Twas Brillig and the slithy toves
Right.
and Gyre and Gimble and the Wabe." All these unfamiliar words. He just essentially makes up a
Right.
meaning for them.
It's interesting though because when you read that, you know what's happening. Kind of, you have a conceptual
Yeah.
framework. You might not know specifically what wabe is, but you understand the scene is being set.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is the setting of this, and now we're going to have this action ensue, and right? And
Yeah. I mean,
it's
you
interesting.
know that slithy has got to be an adjective.
And probably
And
kind of
toves is a
right,
noun.
Right.
And they
Because
Gyre
of
and
the
Gimble
way-
in the Wabe.
Right.
Gyre and Gimble have to be verbs.
Right. They're doing something.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what they're doing, but they're doing something.
And the Wabe is the object of preposition in, so it's got to be a noun.
Right. And the sounds of the verbs, like slithy, is kind of negative, right? Like
Yeah,
slimy, or
slimy
it might be
and-
gross,
yeah.
and gyre and gimble, it's like frolic, right? Cavort, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I'm doing Duolingo French. I'm on day 183. Thank you very much. Or maybe it's more than that. Anyway, and a lot of time, I know that people say when you learn a language, you kind of you've moved ahead conceptually when you stop interpreting every word and you start understanding the meaning of things, right? Because we put together the building blocks of words, but when you are fluent, you are understanding whole concepts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times in the Duolingo, I'll look at it and be like, okay, especially if it's something I'm trying to do quickly, might look at a paragraph and be like, okay, I kind of know what's happening here. And then I'll pick the answer and it'll show me. And I'll have some things wrong specifically, but I'll know generally I'll be right. Like it was about this kind of thing, right? And I think that's what's happening there. And it's fun, and the language is fun, but there is a deeper meaning
Yeah.
in Carroll.
Yeah. There's
Very deep. Kind of a mind-melting meaning.
or maybe mind-numbing meaning.
Because it's taking you back to English as a new language to you,
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
Like my experience with Duolingo and French.
Yeah. Which may be why it's presented as a children's book.
Right, because they're learning the
Children
language.
are learning the language. Yeah. Another reason that this is lovable, we've already talked about, is that this book really kind of turned on its head the children's book industry.
Right, because it isn't didactic. In
Yeah.
fact, you might not want Alice to behave. You might not want your kids to behave the way Alice behaves in some. Or the characters she encounters, they're incredibly annoying.
They are. And she's probably annoying to most of them, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the clues I gave was
Clues.
was the beginning.
I'm going to write a letter to your boss. Who's in charge?
Who's in charge here? The beginning of one of the poems that Alice recites is a parody of an Isaac Watts poem that was popular at the time to teach children to recite.
Oh, okay.
And Isaac Watts, you might recognize the name, was a famous hymn writer.
Oh,
And this poem that children at the time would memorize and recite, before their mother or their teacher or whatever.
Right.
The title is Against Idleness and Mischief.
yeah.
And it goes, how doth the little busy bee improve each shining hour, and gather honey all the day from every opening flower? How skillfully she builds her cell, how neat she spreads the wax, and labors hard to store it well, with the sweet food she makes. In works of labor or of skill I would be busy too, for Satan finds some mischief still for idle hands to do. So Alice, when she first gets to underground, the Wonderland, is asked to recite this poem, and she can't remember how it's supposed to go. So she recites, "How doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail, and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale? How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spreads his claws, and welcomes little fishes in with gently smiling jaws."
Well, that's
yeah.
interesting because, of course, memorization is the lowest form of knowledge, right? You can memorize anything for a couple days or however long, but it doesn't mean that you understand anything, right? Like higher forms, upper order forms of knowledge are, to get you to synthesize ideas, to analyze ideas, right? To apply ideas in new situations and contexts, right? So it's funny that he takes this poem that all these children had to memorize and is like, look, it didn't mean anything to her because she spits it out and it's something another, right?
And it's also, instead of extolling the virtue of busyness,
right,
it extols the virtue of eating fish with your chomping jaws.
Eat or be eaten, right?
Yeah. It's a Darwinian poem.
Yeah.
Both of these books are filled with poems.
Well, and both of those are about busy nature. One is busy in one way, and another is busy in another way.
That's true.
But yes,
the Jabberwock poem. But also, there's "You Are Old, Father William," and that's a poem a lot of kids still read about him standing on his head. And then, of course, there's the Walrus and the Carpenter, who end up eating all of the oysters.
I think that just shows that people who love language are attracted to poetry.
Yeah.
Because it is another level of exercise of your prowess, and not only your prowess with language, but it's a way to enjoy language even more, right? Because the sounds of poetry are such an important aspect of the meaning, which goes back to what we were talking about with Jabberwock.
Yeah.
That you can understand.
It's all about sounds.
Right. You can understand it generally because of the way the words sound.
Yeah.
Not just themselves, but within the structure of each sentence.
Yeah.
So, that makes sense. And also poetry, especially rhyme, is enjoyable to children because that kind of structure is kind of a safe, right? The predictability of it, and yet still the surprise.
Yeah.
It will rhyme, but how, right? So I know a rhyme is coming, but I don't know what it'll be. And there's a payoff too, right?
Yeah.
It's fascinating. What else is lovable about Alice? If not Alice herself, agreed.
Alice herself, I think is. We haven't talked about her, but she as a character is another big departure from the didactic sort of literature, because she's not a well-behaved girl. She's in all these situations with all these grown-ups, some of whom are queens or duchesses, or judges in the court scene.
Right.
And she isn't just going to sit back and do what they tell her or accept what they say.
She's not obedient.
No, and she calls them on the things that they say that are
she talks
silly.
back.
She talks back. She got a mouth on her.
And that's interesting because when and where this book comes out, they have queen. They have a queen. Yeah. They have duchesses, right? And British children know, where you stand in relation to queens and duchesses, and it is not equal to them.
No. Although Through the Looking Glass, Alice in Wonderland, a lot of the characters turn out to be playing cards.
Right.
The Queen of Hearts.
Right.
The Knave of Hearts stole the tarts.
Right.
And in the end, she says, "You're just a bunch of playing cards," and sort of kicks them, and the whole deck collapses. In Through the Looking Glass, it's about a game of chess, and a lot of the characters are people on the chessboard. There's a red queen and a white queen.
Mm-hmm.
And Alice says she wants to be queen. And they say, well, you have to make it to the 8th square and you can become a queen. So that becomes kind of her goal in Through the Looking Glass is to make it to that 8th square, which she does. So she does become the equal of the red queen and the white queen.
It's a tearing down of the social structure that constrains children.
Yeah.
Which would be appealing to kids.
Sure. I mean, if you compare this to like the Little House books, where the children are not allowed to speak until they're spoken to and that sort of thing, Alice is a whole nother character.
Well, and that's interesting because I was thinking about them in the context of Treasure Island, which, you said was very doodly. And so I was thinking about it, the Little House books are, the main character is Laura and then also her sister. She doesn't have any brothers, right? So it's these little girls growing up on the frontier and doing these big scary things, these adventures, right? Getting stuck out on Silver Lake and there's a wolf there, like how to get away from the wolf. So it's interesting because you mention them in this context of how they were supposed to behave. And they really did try to behave. And I think one of the charming things about Little House is that Laura wants to behave, but she's always falling short. And that's what makes it readable and relatable for a child, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be as interesting if it's from a perfect girl.
Yeah.
But that would be, in pre-Alice in Wonderland times, that's what parents want kids to read about.
Yeah. And
Laura her foil is her sister Mary, who's perfect, right? Because she always does everything she's supposed to, and she loves doing it. Yeah. And Laura's like, I try to be good, but I just can't. And then there's Alice, who doesn't
really try.
So that you can see how this is enjoyable for a child to read.
Yeah.
And fun for an adult to write.
Yeah.
Especially for a little girl. It's very iconoclastic.
Yeah.
Because they are supposed to be the most obedient of all.
Yeah. And here's this man writing to her about it. There were 3 daughters, and Alice was the middle daughter.
Okay.
And maybe because she was the middle child, he thought she needed somebody to pay more attention to her.
To see her.
But he and an Anglican priest were out in a boat, and the girls wanted this story, and he made up this story of Alice underground, and then later wrote it down and gave it to Alice.
That's interesting because I think it really happened that people used to ask Karen Blixen, a.k.a. Isaac Dinesen, to just tell them a story. And then those ended up being the bases for some of her Gothic tales. She would, maybe they would give her a little bit and she would tell a whole long story.
Yeah, well, that's not unlike Tolkien,
right?
Whose children, wanted him to tell stories, and that's where The Hobbit came from,
right? Yeah, that's interesting. Those imaginative minds.
Yeah,
that's fun. Yeah, I think it is. It's satisfying to read about Alice, even if it's like, oh my goodness, you're breaking all these rules. Go, girl.
Yeah. One of the interesting places where Carroll or Dodgson makes fun of the idea of the book's stories having to have a moral is with the Duchess, who during the Queen of Hearts croquet game, she tells Alice, "Tut tut, child, everything's got a moral if only you can find it." And as the scene goes on, the Duchess tries to pronounce a moral after everything they say.
Yes.
And so Alice, no matter how far-fetched it is, so when the Duchess mentions she's afraid to approach Alice's flamingo, Alice suggests that, yes, the bird may bite. And the Duchess responds, very true, flamingos and mustard both bite. And the moral of that is, birds of a feather flock together. And Alice
Is mustard a bird?
Well, that's the point that Alice makes. Mustard's not a bird.
Right.
But that never gets through
But
to her.
it also goes back to the language and the puns and the, what does bite mean?
Yeah.
Right? It means what we say it means. And
Yeah.
we mutually agree, that's how language is a social construct.
Yeah.
And then Alice finds herself in a world where she's confronted with people who don't accept language in these ways, right? So she's trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, why might somebody not like these two books that are packaged as one? Alice in Wonderland, we'll just say. Why might somebody not enjoy it?
I don't know. I mean, this is the sort of book that you can read when you're 10 and get a charge out of it, and you can read when you're 99 and
still enjoy,
still get a kick out of it. I don't know. I mean, I guess I remember when I was in college working. I worked in the cemetery cutting grass during the summer, and there was a team of us cutting grass, and one guy who worked there when we were on a break, which we did a lot during the day, especially when it was 95 degrees.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
He said he didn't like novels. And I said, what do you mean you don't like novels? He said, I don't like reading anything that isn't true. So I guess if somebody had that attitude, they wouldn't like Alice in Wonderland, because it's certainly not factual.
It sure seems true, though.
There's a lot of truth in it.
Right, but you have to dust it off yourself.
Yeah.
You have to go searching.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, I mean, some people don't like
He
fantasy.
doesn't like, he likes nonfiction. He doesn't like fiction.
Doesn't like fiction.
Yeah. Well, then you shouldn't be listening to our podcast, I guess.
And as a matter of fact, you probably are not if you don't like fiction.
We'd
so
tell you good riddance,
we are
but you're not here.
speaking to you.
And you're not listening. All right.
You're not listening
Well,
at all.
how do you rank this then on your total list so far?
I'm gonna go ahead and rank this as number 28.
Oh, okay. I thought you might put it down there by Treasure Island, but it's up there a little higher.
It's up
than that.
higher. I'm putting it right after Watership Down.
Uh-huh.
And right before Waiting for the Barbarians.
Oh, that's interesting. Watership Down is children's literature.
Yeah.
For adults
fantasy,
as well.
Yeah.
And fantastic.
Yeah.
And then Waiting for Barbarians is a fable in a way, or so a sophisticated one, but still.
And not nearly as funny as Alice in Wonderland.
I don't read Katsuya for the humor.
No. But
there are
but
other.
you should read Lewis Carroll for the humor.
Yes.
And for the way it exercises your brain
Yes.
when you're looking at all this playing with language.
Yeah, don't fight it.
No.
Go along with it.
Remember what the Dormouse said. Feed
your head.
As a matter of fact, he doesn't ever say that, but
Jefferson Airplane does, so that's all you need. All right, well, wonderful.
Okay, so it must be time now once again for Chaos Reader.
Yes, so I am particularly chaotic. Like last week, I talked about my Substack, you may recall. This week, I'd like you to talk to us about your Substack, J. Ruud. You recently started a Substack newsletter.
I do have a Substack.
So why don't you talk to us about what you do there and what you have planned for your Substack? What's it called? Or is it just you find it under your name, J. Ruud? Or
Yeah, that's where you find it. One of the things, the first one that I posted was a literary rambling around Ireland.
Yes. Right.
Talking
Rambling
about
writer is what you call those.
Yeah.
Because you post them on your website.
Yeah.
Or you have done.
This was a rambling writer around Ireland talking about the literary things or literary characters that we
saw
run across there.
Yeah.
The second one was a written review of one of the books that we talked about on our podcast.
Yes.
The third one, which came out last Thursday, was about Ryan Sandberg.
That was so good. I really enjoyed that. I liked how you, as a chaos reader, reading that, I really liked how you wove his rise as a baseball player in with your own progressing career as an English professor. And I just thought that was really insightful, because sometimes people mean something to us because they come to us at a particular time in our lives.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really touching. And it was, we've been together for a long time, but I knew that you loved him, and I knew that you were going to be sad when you found out that he died. But I didn't understand why he meant what he did to you. And after I read that, I got it. So, but I also think it's about more than that, in that this is an example, as I said, of why someone might mean something to us at a particular time in our lives. And I think people who read that Substack of yours, they'll probably be able to talk about somebody in a similar way, right?
Yeah.
That came into their consciousness and meant something to them.
At a very significant time.
Yeah, formative period of time. I would say that for me, the first person that comes to mind in a similar way would be Princess Diana, because I became aware of her when I was she kind of came on the scene in the early 80s. I was a tween. I was growing up with brothers. I was really interested in, fashion and style, and she was wearing these, everything she wore was all over everything. And she was kind of just wearing the things that her set wore in London, right? But she never didn't mean a lot to me, because she kind of came into my awareness at a time when I was looking for role models for, I lived in a small town, right? And I was looking, beyond those borders for women who dressed in a way that I liked, right? And what choices they made. And so I could see how he came to you at a time when your career was your early career, and that you kind of grew up as adults together, right? In a way.
Yeah, it was a very, the 1984 Cubs season was my distraction from a fairly difficult period. That was going on.
Yeah. So
and I'll never forget sitting in my little closet, which was what my office was.
I love that. I didn't realize that.
With a TV set that was this big, that was black and white, and
couple of inches
antenna, watching the first playoff game.
Yeah. Just takes you back there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, check out Jay's Substack. Mine is Dressing for Dystopia, and yours is you can find it under J. Ruud on Substack. And
yes, you can.
We'll see you there. So we'd like to thank our podcast producing sensei for helping us troubleshoot every week when we come up against something we can't figure out, and for doing the cover art for our YouTube, because you can find us not only on podcasts but also on YouTube, where you can follow us. And we'd also like to thank our listeners worldwide. Every week we love looking at that list. It's very exciting.
We had several in the Netherlands this week.
Awesome. All right. Well, and one of my colleagues tells me we have some fans in Iowa. So this is a shout out to them. Thank you.
All right.
Go Hawkeyes. Thank you for listening from Iowa. And we will see you next time between the covers.